happy Wellness Check Wednesday. Fantastic, fantastic people. Happy Wellness Check Wednesday. I am super excited to be here with you guys tonight. It's going to be good. It is going to be good. How are you guys doing? Listen, let me tell y'all something. It is a blessing, okay, to be in the land of the living. These super germs have been trying to take me out. The super germs tried to take me out, y'all. Let me tell y'all. But God, shout out to the Lord, okay? Shout out to the Lord who is my healer. Shout out to the husband, Scott Kinchen, who is the chicken soup for the soul maker, okay? Shout out to doTERRA for these essential oils that made this not last for so long. And I am so glad to finally be feeling like a human being out here. We have an amazing guest. My girl, Stephanie Nesbitt at Her Natural Soul is in the building. We're going to start discussing this series coming up, going towards the end of the year, through the end of the year, is going to be on Fit for Purpose. So we're going to be talking about why it is so important for us to take ownership of our health and our wellness, and going to start taking different approaches that will present to you guys, see what's the best fit for you, ownership of our physical wellness. And today we're talking with Stephanie with Her Natural Soul. Her journey has been so incredible. I really wanted to talk about the holistic perspective of us, and I use holistic. I spelled it with a W, which I know is not the right way to spell it, but I did that because my desire is to approach us from a whole being, spirit, soul, and body. The holistic approach is bigger than just our physical being. I think that the biggest problem when we start thinking about being fit and working out and changing our eating habits and things like that is we really focus on how we look, right? Oh, I want to look good. Hashtag team no back fat, which I am president, founding member, and residing secretary. It's bigger than that. When God has given you a purpose for your life, typically it's going to require a lot of energy. It requires a lot of energy to be effective. To be a mom, it requires a lot of energy. To be a business owner, it requires a lot of strength and energy, mentally, physically, emotionally. And so when you think about being fit for your purpose, we have to do the things that empower us to be able to fulfill our purpose and our destiny. So as we think about the changes that we present to you, I want you to think more than, oh, this is just so I look better, or oh, this is just for me to lose weight, or oh, you know, everybody wants to whatever. No, it's bigger than that. You being a healthy, whole person has more to do with your ability to fulfill your purpose than it has anything to do with the way that you look. The way that you look is just a fantastical byproduct. Come on, somebody. I'm grateful to be fitting into these jeans today. Won't he do it? But that is a fantastical byproduct of my ability to now occupy my space effectively because I am more healthy. So that's the mindset I want us to embrace at this point. So glad to be in the service. Yes. Thank you guys for joining us. Tag your friends, add your friends, ask them to come on and join us in our conversation today. My girl at Her Natural Soul is in the building, hernaturalsoul.com. She is in the building. Check her out. Write it down. Follow my girl at Stephanie Nesbitt. She is everything and more. That's what you need in your life. Follow her. Girl, you look good, girl.
The hair is popping. The hair is popping. The adornment is beautiful.
Listen, beauty is doing what she needs to do today.
I love it.
Thank you. Okay, Steph, so let's get into this. Again, there's so much to discuss with you about, so I am looking forward to having you back on. But I really wanted to delve into your journey. When we start talking about fibroids and endometriosis, and we talk about the Black community and how disproportionate it is that African American and Black women have fibroids and endometriosis way more than a lot of other ethnicities. And some of that can be contributed to relaxers, which are chemicals. We were just talking about that in the salon today. And a lot of it is also diet. So I'm excited for you to speak on your journey. And let's get into how we can take control of our holistic wellness to live our absolute best lives. So the floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you to all my friends. I saw a few of them come on, Marshall, Malika, and Stella, and Stacy, and Jane. I see quite a few people here, so thank you for joining us. So just a little bit about me and what you were saying as far as fibroids and endometriosis. It's an epidemic in our society
Yeah.
for Black women, and as many friends that I have, and what I thought is that, oh, it's genetic. My mom had it, so I'm gonna have it. I have women in my family who suffer from, severe pain from cycles and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, this is just what I'm supposed to do. This is just the life I've been given. And so for many years, from 14 up until maybe 27, 28, I just suffered in pain because I just told that's how it's going to be. You're just going to be in pain, and this is just what it is, And so eventually I started thinking, like, I can't live like this. I've gone through my adolescent stage with this, and I've gone through, my early adulthood, and now I'm at a place where I want to be free from pain. I want to live life abundantly and in my fullness. And the pain was not letting me do that, and it just got worse and worse and worse, where my cycles were lasting like 90 days,
Wait,
6 months. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wait. No.
Yeah. And this is before I even knew anything about the endometriosis.
You had a period for 3 months?
For 3 months and longer.
Yeah.
And longer. And the only thing doctors would tell you, I know, was like, we're going to put you on some birth control pill. And so that's what would regulate your cycle. But what is the condition that's causing you to have to be on these pills? What's the root cause?
Yeah.
And what we know today is birth control pill is really causing a lot of other adverse reactions. You have pulmonary embolisms, blood clots, and cancer, and all these things and not having a cycle at all, which I don't know what the long-term effects of that will be, once all science does what it needs to do. We're pretty much guinea pigs for the system. And so I just decided, I need a doctor who was going to partner with me and tell me what's going on, because I was just tired. No quality of life, because, you're bleeding for 3-4 months, you have no iron, no energy, no strength.
Child, you the woman with the issue of blood, child. Honey.
That's what I felt like. And if you're trying to date or do anything like that, or just have a life and be active, you can't do it. You can.
No. She's busy. She's booked, okay? My God. She's booked.
She's booked, yes. And so after trial and error, finding doctor, I finally found a doctor. This was probably in 2007. And, I went to her, and what I loved about her is that she was a Black doctor, woman, African-American woman here in Nashville. And she just sat down and said, talk to me, which many doctors before weren't giving me that option. They just hear a few words. I'm in pain. I'm in this. Oh, this is what we use for that.
Okay.
But every individual is different, So she sat down, and I talked to her, and she said, I think you have endometriosis. Do you know what that is? And I was like, I've heard about it. Don't really know too much about it. I think my mom had it. My mom passed when I was 14. So I didn't really get to have those really in-depth conversations with her.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had to kind of, and it's, at least for my family, I can't speak for all Black women and their family, but it's really private to talk about, the issues that you're dealing with your cycles. And I have aunts who aren't able to have kids, and I really don't know why they can't. And so as I was approaching their ages, which at the time they were, I had an aunt that had a hysterectomy at maybe 34, and as I'm approaching that age, I'm like, but you can't really talk about it, and I felt like, okay,
let me just interject right here. For those of us that are in this room, in this moment, can we just empower ourselves to speak?
Okay? Yes.
Let's break the generational curses of being quiet. Let's break the stigma of discussing the issues that are difficult. Let's stop shaming one another for having the issues that we're dealing with, okay? Let's make that commitment with ourselves, to ourselves right now, to say, not me. That's going to stop with me. You know, it's going to stop with
Yeah.
me. I'm going to talk about things. We have to help each other. It's not
Yeah.
right that a young lady can't go to her older aunt, especially if her mom is gone, or can't go, you know, to a source and say, help me with this. What's going on here? We need to break the curse of what happens at home stays at home. We need to break the curse of not
Absolutely.
talking. It is not okay to not speak, because you take the power back when you address it and you
Yeah.
face something head on. So if you're in this room right now, I'm just taking it as though you're taking the oath, okay? Get out if that's
Take the
not what
oath.
you want to do. I, Shammah Joy Kinchen, okay? Do solemnly swear, come on,
Yeah.
somebody, to speak on the things that need to be spoken on. And
Yeah.
let's empower ourselves to break the silence. Come on, Anton, that's it. Break the silence and be effective. Go ahead.
Yes, he's been a trooper through all this. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's one thing. I was on a panel last week and just really talking about shame and silence.
Yeah.
And how us as women, we live in that in many areas in our professional life. You know, you may be you don't want to be the black woman with the attitude. In your church life, you know, women are pretty much silent. You're in the background. You kind of just
Yeah.
playing your
Yeah.
role. But we need to speak. We have a voice. And it's time to really talk up and create community. And it may not be for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody may not need to be a part of it, and that's fine. You create community of
Right.
those that you know will partner with you and be with you on your journey. And so,
Yes.
and that's with health, and that's with a lot of other things. But definitely when you're dealing with, you know, physical pain, you know, and I
Yeah.
saw your husband, I saw Scott say how your brother deal with that. Anton was a trooper. He was pretty much there through a lot of it. You know, I had 3
Wow.
surgeries. I had
Shout
a,
out to all of the husbands.
yeah, shout out to all the
Shout,
husbands. Yeah.
shout out to the husbands that hold it down for the things that ain't easy for you. Listen,
Look, and
90
he
days
wasn't
is a
even a
long
husband
time,
then,
friend.
but yes, he was hanging in there with me. Yes, he hung in there with me. But you know, having to go through a laparoscopic myomectomy, you know,
Wow.
I had to get colon, just trying to get to the root of what was going on,
Can you tell
and
me
then
what's a myomectomy? What does that mean?
so the myomectomy it was a robotic surgery. So they did 3 small incisions in my abdomen, and they went in and removed about small grapefruit size fibroids
Wow.
that were on my uterus.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were on my uterus, my bladder, and my bowel.
Okay.
And so you got to think about pressure, and I'm going a little deep, of if you don't have a bowel movement,
Yeah.
what that does to your body. And the pressure from the fibroid was causing issues with that as well.
Yeah.
And so just knowing your body, and I just said something's not right, something's wrong. And there's a lot of more research out now than it was than when I was going through it. And I've done research, and I've dived in. It's the fibroid elimination group, who is great. I haven't personally used them, but I follow them. I follow their meal plans. I follow their foods when I feel like I'm getting off the rail. That if somebody's really looking to partner with the people who really like have done the trial and error for African American women, especially, they are available to help, and that's all they want to do. So that's the fibroid elimination. But that wasn't
Okay.
around when I was getting started. That wasn't
Got you.
there.
Got you.
And so the doctor I was talking about earlier, Dr. Sweet, she was more of, okay, let's go in, let's explore, let's see what's in there. And once we go in, then we'll determine from there what we need to do. Stacy,
Yeah.
hey Stacy, the name is the Fibroid Elimination Diet, and then there's a Fibroid Elimination Program. And that's not just necessarily fibroids, it's any hormonal dis-ease or imbalances that you have.
Okay.
So women who are dealing with polycystic ovarian syndrome, with thyroid issues, any hormonal imbalance, they have it down. Chef Aki is another one. She has her life mission, she's in Atlanta, is to help women with fibroids, and she has a cookbook called, I think it's the Fibroid Elimination Guide. So these are
Oh, that's
things that
awesome.
mm-hmm.
What we can do is let's kind of put a list together, and then when we repost
Yes.
the video, we can kind of put all of our resources down Stacy, and for everyone that's watching. And shout out to all of the gentlemen that are watching. You know, although these issues affect women, so many gentlemen know women in your lives that are having issues like this. So please feel free to pass this information on. So we'll have a resource reference center at the end of all of this where you can get that additional information. Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, no problem. So, you know, it's like you said, it's getting the information, knowing where to get it from. And I where my journey started with like that silence and that shame of pain. And, you know, my dad, as I said, my mother passed, so my dad was doing the best he could. He's like, you know, you're just gonna go through pain. That's just how it is. And from a man's world, you know,
man up.
I was like, okay, Daddy, I'll just deal with it. But it was causing so many other issues, you know, and things I didn't know. And so finding someone, a doctor, or someone you can talk to walk you through and guide you through this process. So I will say for Dr. Sweet, and I have no idea where she is now. I love her so much, but she assisted me on the healthy living part of it. So not only was she like my gynecologist at the time, but she also was my psychologist.
Yeah.
I would literally schedule appointments to go in and just talk and cry and say, I'm still in pain. This isn't working. And she said, well, let's try something else.
Yeah.
It was never you know, no, this is what we need to do. This is just the end all be all. And I was like, I don't want birth control pills. I want a more natural method. What do I need to do? Yeah. And she was the one who was like, well, let's start with food. Let's start with food.
That's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. It's food. Okay?
And that's what we love.
So yes, let's start talking about my favorite thing in the whole wide world. You keep using this word that is so important. I remember that when we took Colin to see our pediatrician, and you know, we were just going through our autism journey, trying to figure out where's our root from, right? Because so many times we're dealing with the symptoms of things and there's a root cause.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You can deal with the symptoms all day long until we dig deep and find out what is this root. I need to kill this root. Then the symptoms, you know, you have temporary fixes. And Dr. Randy Naidu, if you need a good pediatrician in Dallas, Shine Pediatrics, he is a holistic Dan doctor, Defeat Autism Now doctor. He is phenomenal. But he talked about the concept of elimination. I'd love for you to expound on what that means and how important it is.
Yeah, so elimination is really taking out, going to the basics of food. I'll just say it like that. And what I mean by basics of food is, okay, let's start with no dairy, 1, no sugar, 2, low salt, low sodium, 3, no soy, 5, and no processed foods. And so when you take those things out, which are pretty much not your natural foods, you're just going to go into your raw fruits and vegetables.
So
and, you know, you're going to kick your body off.
How long do you, like, if you say I'm gonna eliminate dairy just to see, like, are you eliminating for a week? Are you taking off a month? Like, how long are you waiting to see how does that affect my body?
So for me, dairy was the very first thing to go over 10 years ago. And I just felt almost an immediate difference within, I would say, maybe the first couple of weeks with the dairy. Just, you know, I used to have like ear, nose, and throat issues, drainage issues, you know, sinus and all that. It just was almost an immediate response. Okay,
because dairy increases mucus. It increases. So think about this. If you guys have children, okay, that have ear, nose, and throat issues, that we're having drainage issues now, y'all hear how I'm sounding, okay? And you think about that for me, everything is in some way attached to the things that we're eating in our, you know, putting inside of our bodies. And I also want you to take away from this moment that it's going to take some time. Okay, it's going to take some time. You cannot have lived your life for 36 years, right? Eliminate something for 3 days and be like, oh, it don't work. That's not a real thing.
Right.
You know, that is not
Absolutely.
a real thing. A principle that I learned in my marketing background, you need 90 days. There's that 90-day principle to see whether or not your campaign resonates with your potential target market. Anytime you want to try something new, Yeah, you want to give yourself 90 days. Denise is asking, do you substitute dairy in any way? Because she loves cheese. I know, Denise. I know, friend.
Oh, well,
What
there's
can we do?
so many. Yeah, for what she say for cheese. So there's so many things on the market now. And when when you're beginning the journey, I think it's okay to use some of those I call transitional foods,
Okay.
which would be your So Delicious cheese or your Chayo cheese by Field Rose. And these non-dairy cheeses, they're plant-based. They're either made with cashews or almonds or some type of nut-based milk. They're very good. They're creamy. They break down. They cook well. They make good vegan macaroni and cheese, and things of that nature. But it's nothing I would say to do on a daily basis. So if one of your snack things is I eat, cheese and crackers for snacks, I wouldn't say to put down the regular cheese and pick up this cheese. It's counterproductive.
Okay.
But it is good to transition. So if you're transitioning, you're giving yourself that grace period of those 90 days or the 3 months to get through something, definitely by all means. And it's not a perfect journey, being plant-based, vegan, pescatarian, whatever. It's not a perfect journey. I have days where I don't feel like chopping and cooking and food processing and boiling and soaking. And so we do some quick meals and it's okay. So
Everybody got time.
And it's okay. It's a lot. I feel like my friends are like, you cook. I cook all the time, but I enjoy it. I do enjoy cooking, so it's not an issue for me. But you want to do things that are realistic for your lifestyle and not be set up for failure, because that's the number one thing when people go revert back. It's because they're set up for failure. They're started cleanse the day before it's time for somebody's birthday. I'm gonna detox.
Right.
I'm gonna go on a juice cleanse, and it's holiday season. That
but
may
your
not.
why is wrong. Yeah, the why is wrong. Like when your
The why
why
is wrong.
Yes, you have to connect with your why. If your why is image based, it's never gonna last. Your why has to be deeper than how you look. Your why has to be, I want to live my absolute God given, God promised, preordained life for me. Me. And so, like,
Yeah.
just as a quick disclaimer, this is definitely not a go vegan convo. This is
No.
that Stephanie made for herself and found that it was beneficial. I went vegetarian for a while and I found that to be beneficial. I would love, again, please follow her on Her Natural Soul. There's so many resources that are on there to allow for you to have information to make a smooth transition for yourself, because you have to remember something. Anytime you want to make a change to something, like, our bodies are addicted to so many things that you don't realize you're addicted to until you start eliminating those things out of your body. So when you pull sugar out of your diet, okay, gird your loins, because it's gonna be ugly. All right. by the time your mood swings kick in, a headache pops off, your energy drops, it's because it's fake. All of that is not real. So you want to prepare yourself. Hi, Tracy. Hey, Joyce. You want to prepare yourself for the battle, right? Knowing that at the end of this battle, you are worth that fight. So we'll take the time to eliminate things slowly. And the way that you recognize that it was bad for you is you reintroduce them back, and then you had adverse reactions, right?
I reintroduced them back. Yeah. So there's some things I never went back to. I never went back to eggs. I never went back to dairy. And I didn't go back to beef or pork or anything like that. So one thing I was eating for a little bit was fish. I ate quite a bit of fish, but certain types of fish. I didn't eat shellfish because it's not really like shrimp and crab. It just never really was my thing. And so becoming vegan was really not something I desired to do. it wasn't like on the plan, like, oh, I'm gonna be like a super vegan, support the vegan. It was the best that I felt. It was the best I felt. And to your point, the why is that I want to feel good. Now those cycles that used to last 30, 60, 90 days, maybe 2 days.
Come on, Jesus.
With no pain, and that's what I know when my body, when I've been eating junk food vegan and I've been lazy and it's just kind of, we're just gonna throw this stuff in the oven, I don't feel like cooking. That's when I get my pain. So it's not worth it to me because I know the pain I've endured.
Yes.
And I love myself enough that food is not going to make me suffer. Food
Not
is
for a
not.
sandwich.
Yeah, and it's a discipline. It's definitely a discipline, you
Yeah.
know, and it's difficult at times for some people, but I don't desire it.
Yeah.
I just have no desire for specific food. I went to brunch Sunday, and some girlfriends ordered this huge Bloody Mary with a full fried hen in it, and like this, it was a whole lot going on. And they was like, "You don't want that chicken?" I was like, "Nothing in me wants that chicken. I
Not a
don't
single
desire
thing.
it." And I can't look at food. I can look at it and I can be around people that eat it, but I have disciplined myself.
Yeah.
Starting out, you know, this is not the time. If you're gonna go to the 4th of July or the Christmas party, eat before you go. Take snacks. You know, bring your own dish,
Set
something that you
yourself
can
up
have.
for success. Set yourself up
Absolutely.
to succeed.
Absolutely. And that's what I do when I go home now. And most of my family is like, well, what are we cooking vegan? What's vegan? What's vegan? Because I'm coming home with the groceries and we're going to cook and make different meals and breads and good wholesome food that reminds us of everything we had for holidays. It's just a little bit different. And it's, I would say
Yeah.
it's a bit better for you. And they enjoy it. They enjoy it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
testimony time. Okay. Testimony time. Because where are these
Yeah.
fibroids and this endometriosis now?
They are non-existent. And
Huh?
you know, there was the part I kind of skipped over. Yes, look at God. And you know, when I told you I had the myomectomy and they did the incisions to go in, they were telling me at that time, you know, you have 6 months to try to conceive and get pregnant. And you know,
Wow.
wasn't married, you know, Anton and I were just still dating.
Mm,
And I was like, I'm not gonna make that jump of making that type of life decision. So I had to ride in faith, and I had to know that God was going to be
yeah.
with me as, as we grew in our relationship. And Anton and I, we got engaged and
Yeah.
all that and got married. And then, you know, I was talking to my doctor. Now, what do I need to do to try to get pregnant? And it just happened. It just happened with nothing else, because they just really thought it was going to be a very difficult process because of the surgery I had, which obstructed my uterus and did a whole lot of
Wow.
other things that they had to go in and shift things around. That, you know, you may have
Yeah.
difficult pregnancy, you may have this, there was just no true certainty of the success that it would be. And
Wow.
she was it was a beautiful baby. She's downstairs now with daddy, and
Love
she's
bucket.
live. Yeah, she's bubbly. So, you know, I still go and get my wellness exams. And I would say, for also, just a side note here, thank you, Dijon. That's my girl. They know my story. Some of my girls on here, they know the struggle I've been through. Is that do not the find the doctor that works for you. I know
Yeah.
sometimes we go on holistic journeys and we go and be, you know, neopathic and natural, and then we say, I don't need a doctor. Well,
Mm,
yeah, you need the right physician, a
right.
physician that understands both worlds, and that you can tell them, these are my limitations, these are the boundaries that I have, and you can be transparent with them. And then they can say, okay, well, within these boundaries, this is what I would want you to do, because I still want
Yeah.
to be healthy. I
Yeah.
still want my uterus to be healthy. I make sure the fibroids don't grow back. I still want to make sure that the endometriosis is dormant. And
Yeah.
so I go back on a regular basis, and, you know, I do my wellness exams and make sure I'm fine. And I also, because I've been vegan for a while, I check my vitamins and minerals
Yes.
levels.
And
So I
your
go get my blood
protein.
pulled, and I go and
Yes.
see, yeah, see what I'm deficient in. And I have only
And
deficiency I have, which most Black folks do, is vitamin D.
vitamin D.
So, but I do take, yeah, I take a couple of, you know, liquid supplements that do well with increasing those things. And so,
Stephanie,
but
Marie
the
asked
fibroids.
what sweeteners do you use as a substitute, if any, if you have any sweeteners?
Yes, thank you, Stacey. Stacey being a moderator, that's my boo. So
Thanks,
sweeteners, I'm
Stacey.
glad you asked, because when you do, hey Stacey, when you do remove the artificial sugar, which is more of the white granulated sugar that we do use to make our beverages and cook things with. So this is what I currently have in my pantry. And I told you my house is on the mountain of construction, so I can't
Go
show you
ahead.
the pantry, but maybe we'll do that one day.
Let's do
We'll
it.
walk through the pantry.
Let's do it.
But dates, Yeah, dates are great. So when I make smoothies, I put dates in it. Dates are high in iron, magnesium. These are things when I make, which I would call like my herbal sweet teas. I use a little of agave and coconut sugar.
Mm.
Or I make like a date syrup and I add that in. And that way I know I'm still getting minerals and vitamins even from the sweeteners that I'm putting into the
Phenomenal. I
beverages.
love your connection to food and emotions and how you say
Yes.
food is, we have a strong connection to people like, oh, I'm an emotional eater, or when I'm stressed, I don't eat. We use that, baby. Okay, good. Look at God. Look at us being on board. I
You
didn't even
already
know.
on it. You
I
didn't
didn't
even
even
know.
know. Come on, somebody. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
But you talk about the emotions that's connected to food, and we really have to begin becoming people that live above how we feel in that moment. And I know
Yes.
that is so much easier said than done, but moments are flighty, right? You can have a
Yes.
feeling or a thought in a specific space, and then 3 minutes later, you don't even feel that way anymore. So we really have to become people that learn how to self regulate,
Yes.
regulate yourself. And really, what that means is just slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down and do not be stop being so reactive. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're always in a fight or flight mode. Like I'm
Yes.
constantly on the defense. Something happens, like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta fight this, or oh, they said this about me, or oh, this is that. Like, no, take a deep breath, slow
Absolutely.
down, learn how to process,
Yeah.
rehear it again, and then ask yourself, hey,
Mm-hmm.
am I bugging? Like, okay, well, let me take a minute. And sometimes you really do need to count to 10, maybe count to 20
You
before
do.
you
Yeah.
respond to things, because our responses are right now we live in such a high reactive space. Everybody is we're living on a hairpin. We're a trigger on a hairpin, and anything can be said, and next thing you know, you blowing up, and it's just not that serious. So before you
Right.
get stressed
Mm-hmm.
and you reach for a piece of cake, or before you get stressed and you go grab a bottle, or before you get stressed and you start popping off on somebody, can I just ask you to count to 10, like we do in elementary
Yeah.
school,
Another.
right?
Oh, but
I,
it's
Shamaster
true.
Kinchen, do
It's true.
solemnly swear to count to
Yeah.
35, because I need more time, okay? To count to
Yeah, and it's true. And
37.3.
because we do, right, because we do live in that instantaneous world, that you're
Yes.
expected to have a response on the fly. And so when it comes to food and your emotions, a lot of that, from when we say we have these sugar addictions, sugar is
Mm.
an emotion. So when you think of yourself like, oh, I'm feeling for some sugar, what emotion are you dealing with at that time? And there's
Yeah.
a great resource for that. Dr. Africa, he has a great book if you research him, and he talks all about the connection of sugar and food. So he gives it an analogy of a woman when she's lonely, how she goes and gets the cup of ice cream. But
Mm.
you're probably not thinking lonely. You're probably just thinking, I'm just watching television, I'm just going to eat some ice cream. But there's something there that's drawing you to that.
Yes.
When we eat, we just up much. Sometimes you're dehydrated. Drink some water,
Water.
you know, drink some water,
Good.
or a warm glass of tea. Do something before you make that next. And I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm by any means perfect. I do have my moments where I'm like, you know what? I was clean all week.
All week.
I ate clean all week. I
She's
worked
off
out.
today. She's off.
Yes, Stacey not doing this boot camp thing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm going. I'm gonna have this little scoop of vegan ice cream. I'm gonna have it, but what it's a rebellious moment, because once I take that bite, I feel guilty. Like I
Mm.
could have just some water. So let's not put that extra guilt
Yeah.
on us
Yeah. Because we're
for
already working
a
to get past that. We're already
absolutely,
working to move past the emotional shame and stress that we feel just for being alive, and for not being what we think people want us to be, and living up to other people's
absolutely,
expectations anyway. And so what we can take from this moment in this segment is just make one small adjustment at a time. Make an intentional, conscious adjustment at a time. The biggest things that you can change are the things that you acknowledge. You cannot change anything that you don't acknowledge. So even if it's one little bit
absolutely,
thing, when I get sad, I do this, right? And so when you
Yeah.
recognize your behavior leading you to a certain thing, acknowledge it and then make an adjustment. Even if it's a little one, even if it's a little
Absolutely.
one, even if it's
Mhm.
something really, really small, because it's a bunch of little bitty small things that turn into a really great, big,
That-
different change, wonderful life, you
Absolutely.
know? I could talk
Absolutely.
to you all day. I officially ask you for all of these people, which is hella terrible of me, but I don't care, to write me an article for the blog, just kind of outlining everything that we've discussed. And that
Absolutely.
way we can create a resource center to pass this additional information on. And I would love to have you back next month as a follow up. And let's
Yeah.
walk through the pantry. Let's start creating our substitutions in the pantry for our practical life application portion. We have this, but we're going to transition to this. And
Into that.
ultimately, we're going to change into this because we
Yes.
can do it. We can make these changes for our lives because we're worth it. We have a purpose. You have to be fit for your purpose. And if you are in pain, you cannot achieve your purpose in pain. If you are stressed, you cannot live your purpose in stress. You can't. So we have to do the things that we can do and show God that we are serious about what He's trusted us with so that He can do the part that we cannot do. Right?
Absolutely.
And get
Absolutely.
out here and help us. Stephanie, you my boo thing, baby.
Thank you.
HerNaturalSoul.com. Follow
Oh,
her.
I hope
Her.
it's something that I said that helps someone. So
Uh,
just reach out. Anything, any questions, DM, IM, text. I'm always here. So
She is
thank
tagged
you.
in our videos. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Adrian, for linking us and
Yes.
bringing us together. You guys are fantastic, and we
Absolutely.
look forward to seeing you guys. We speak wellness over your life, wellness over your family, wellness over your business, wellness over your mind.
All of it.
May God
Yeah.
cover you in wholeness and wellness, and I will see you next Wellness Check Wednesday. Toodles.